What's up, dude? How are you?
How's it going? How you doing?
Man, good, man. Glad to finally get you in here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, let's jump right into it and kind of talk about your initiative and how you got into all this stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So when I got out of the military, so I was in the Air Force for a really long time. I joined when I was like 17.
Okay. How long were you in there?
25 years. So about 3 months short of 25 years. So when I retired, I knew I was going to miss helping people. So I got involved with some local nonprofits and did that for a few years. Little ways down that way, I realized I needed to do something of my own. I wanted to do something with a bigger scope and make sure that we were able to do what we promised we said we're going to do. So I started a nonprofit about a year ago, and man, it hit the ground running.
What'd you do in the Air Force?
So I was an intel guy, so it's kind of weird. I'm colorblind, so when I joined the Air Force, I stood in line and.
Oh man, we got to talk about that first.
Yeah,
so it's colorblind.
Yeah.
So what age do you figure out, how does that work? People say that and I'm like, you're full of shit. Like some people say that and they can see some colors, but how does that work?
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of technical terms that I don't, monochromatic versus some other stuff. I know that I'm red, green colorblind. Okay. And then I have some troubles with blues and purples, lime greens and yellows blend together. But I found out, you asked how early you find out. I found out in kindergarten because I got paddled because I'm old enough to get paddled. Still
same.
So some people don't, but so I got paddled in kindergarten because they thought I was just messing around. They thought I was just a bad kid and I wouldn't answer the questions correctly. My mom found out that I was colorblind because we did a test, and it's like the dot test where you see the numbers or you don't, and I never did. So she didn't want me to get in trouble anymore. So I remember distinctly one of my first fondest memories, I guess, is my mom buying a 64 pack of crayons and us sitting down and studying. Like, I don't know what color it looks like to you, but this on the side, this says sunflower blue. So I actually have a pretty decent color palette.
So you just trained yourself based on. But does it look gray to you, or what is it?
It doesn't look gray. It looks different. I can't explain it to people. The way I explain it to people, the way I confuse people is that I know what pink looks like, but pink looks orange to me from what people tell me.
Gotcha.
So it's hard to explain, but I know what an orange looks like, and to me, I know a carrot's more orange than an orange, but not because that is just the way it matches my eyes. So it get a little confusing, but yeah. So I had that deficiency. So I joined the Air Force early, 17, and I was trying to get a job, get my life situated. I grew up in a small town in Missouri, so no jobs there. No, here we got like oil field and stuff. There it was pushing boats down the Mississippi River. Like that's the only job that you made any money, and it was real dangerous. And I wasn't really interested. And I wasn't interested in going to college. So I was like, I'm gonna go in the Air Force. My dad was in the Air Force. And I got in the line, and I'm standing there behind like 50 people, and I just keep hearing them go through the test. And it's like, they go up, look at the color vision test. They're like 17, 24, 48. Next person, like 17, 24, 48. Like 20 people in a row, 17, 48, 42, 28 or whatever. And I get there, I was like, hey, do you want me to tell you it's 17, 24, 48? Or do you want me just to really read it? And she's like, no, smartass, just read it to me. Right? So I start reading it, and I'm like, 7B. Nothing. And she's like, yeah, you failed. So with that, it eliminated a lot of jobs. I couldn't be a cop. I couldn't be electrician. I couldn't be EOD, obviously, because you got to cut the red wire. You know. So at the end of the day, they put me in a couple of different open general is what it was called. Basically, you go to basic training without a guaranteed job. And I got in there and I put a list of jobs, and I ended up getting an intel job. So pretty good job.
What does that look like then versus now? That's a pretty important job, I would feel like, in the Air Force, because I mean, especially nowadays, intel is everything, right? I mean,
yeah. There's different flavors and different specialties. I was enlisted when I came in right out of high school, obviously no college. So with that, I was a very focused intel job. I had a very specific job. I had awesome Morse code operators that I worked with and linguists that would listen to what was being said, and then they would hand me what they heard. It could be a string of numbers. It could be code words or things that they heard. And we, as the analysts, would analyze what it meant and write a report on it. So basically, we kind of made sense out of it. It's like a Sudoku puzzle. Like, hey, I know there's a bunch of numbers here, and I know they can only fall in a certain pattern.
Gotcha. So
we would write that. So that was fun. It's a great job. When I was still in, I would tell young intel analysts that didn't like what they were doing. I was like, man, you realize you get paid to be curious. Like, you get paid to learn some stuff and talk about it. That's not a bad gig, when I commissioned late, I got my degree done real late, and then I went off and became more general than others. But it was nice to see kind of the breadth of different things that you did. So, but yeah, I joined the Air Force trying to find a life, trying to find a way to support my family, try to get out of Southeast Missouri.
Yeah.
Not really like wanted to see the world. I'm kind of a homebody, but I wanted to get out of a bad situation, get a future. And did that. And the Air Force helped me, blessed me with a good family. I met my wife from Monroe right down the road. So Barksdale became second home. So when I was going to get out, I was ready to retire. And I was like, I don't want to move. This has become my second hometown. We got family hour and a half from here. My kids are in school. My oldest daughter, who's in tech right now, she'd been through like 11 schools. So we wanted to like let's settle down. Let's keep my youngest son in one school. Let's not do the normal military move every 2-year thing. And
where all did you go?
So that it was kind of weird. I had a long career, but I didn't move to a lot of unique places.
Gotcha.
So I was in Louisiana. I did a Louisiana to San Antonio rotation like 3 times.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's just a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth between those two. I mixed in one assignment to California. I did go to Korea for a year. Had a couple of deployments. I had one technically combat deployment to the desert, and then I had one to Guam. The Air Force considers that a deployment, but it's kind of hard to stand knee deep in the Pacific Ocean drinking a pitcher of beer with a buddy saying you're deployed while people are in Afghanistan getting shot at. But so back to the original. I mean, answer the question. Sorry for the long run on.
No, I like it.
But yeah, when I got out, I had a job lined up, and I was like, okay, and I'm retired, so I have a retirement income coming in, and I got a second job, so it's like, okay, I'm making more money than I've made before, but I didn't have like a good purpose. So I wanted to get involved and help some people. So we started this nonprofit about a year ago, and hit the ground running with first responder support team. Been trying to help as many people as possible, trying to be the common sense sometimes between the government and the military and some of these local organizations. They're great at rules, and they're great at like how to tell no, and all the different steps you got to do to get the simplest thing taken care of. And one of the things we thought was really attractive about a nonprofit is like, while the government like turns like a cruise ship, like nonprofits can turn like a Corvette. It's like, if we change our mind, hey, I'm just going to do something different, or I'm going to go to my board, I'm going to get approval. And if I make a bad decision, I got to stand in front of my board of directors, get my butt chewed out. Don't do that again. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Understood. And then do better the next time. Versus, so many people that I have to go up a chain and ask for permission and line the dominoes up just perfectly to get what ends up being next to nothing on support. So wanted to do something flexible, wanted to do something good.
Yeah. And so what lay out that initiative for me, if you don't mind.
So first responder support team, it's in the name. It's all the first responders you think of, right? So it's the cops, it's fire, it's our EMTs, but we added some people to it. We added our military and our veterans. So that counts for all your currently serving military, active guard and reserve, veterans, and we include linemen as well. We also have a real loose description of emergency medical. So if you were a nurse and work in the emergency medical room, that works. If you're a jailer, that works. If you're dispatch, that works. If you're 911 dispatch, of course. If you're 988 dispatch, yes. At the end of the day, I'm old enough to remember the scene on Mr. Rogers, and it's corny, but he was scared. There was a tragedy. Something was happening, and he remembered telling his mom, was like, hey, don't look at the terrible thing. Just look at all the people that are running to help. Look at everybody that's going to respond and help and do that. So in our mind, the nonprofit I had volunteered with for a while had focused on our military, but I really just felt hard pressed to turn our back on veterans. So one of the reasons why I stepped away, so we just developed a no wrong door policy. At the end of the day, either I'm going to help you or I'm going to get you to somebody who can help and then follow up to make sure you're getting taken care of. So it's a big swath of people, right? So it's all first responders. You got 400 Shreveport cops. You got a ton of Bossier cops. You got all the firefighters. You got 9,000 guys over there on Barksdale. You got veteran community in this area is huge. And then you got linemen all over that are responding, deploy differently, right? Deploy to Oklahoma, deploy to North Carolina during hurricane. They're going to deploy south because of this ice that's coming. So it's a big swath of people. So what we did is we really kind of, I want to say scaled down, but that's not really true. We just kind of streamlined the, I guess the term is product lines that we deliver. We deliver 3 things, and I think we do them better than most. We do mental health. We do financial crisis support. Spoiler alert, if you got a ton of bills and none of our first responders are paid right, they're all paid too low. You think in your mind right now of a first responder, they all have side jobs. Every one of them is mowing grass or barbecuing or power washing or building fences or sweeping chimneys to make ends meet. And at the end of the day, financial problems become mental health problems. And then finally, there's a ton of resources in this community, and I would love to sit here and tell you that they're all great and they're all wonderful, but it's just not true. Some of them do exactly what they say they're going to do, and those are the people that we call our trusted partners. Those are the people that are awesome. A lot of times they're unsung. You never hear about them. They're behind the scenes. They're doing a lot of good works. And then there's a lot of guys in front of the camera that are taking a lot of attention that aren't living up to the promise. So we try to be honest. I will vouch for the ones that need to be vouched for, and I don't vouch for the ones that don't, because at the end of the day, man, you can drown in the sea of life preservers. There's a million different agencies out there. I don't know which ones are good and which ones are not. So they want someone to refer them. They want somebody to navigate the waters for them. So if you say, hey, these are the people I would use because I've used them and they helped me and hundreds of my friends, then they know they're going to get that from us. So the 3 things, again, mental health, financial crisis support, and then referral assistance.
And so are you facilitating these services like firsthand? Or are you passing people off to certain things? Like, what does that look like? Like for mental health, like what does that look like?
Yeah, so we partner with, so there's a great question. It's a little bit of both, a little column A, a little column B.
Okay.
So for mental health, it is, we have partners. I am not a counselor. I can drink a beer with somebody, right? I can be a peer level support bro, but at the end of the day, I would market it as that. If you just want to vent to me and get it off your chest, fantastic, we can do that. But at no point in my life would I call that counseling. It's one of the things that is really prevalent in this area that's dangerous is that there are people with no certification whatsoever that go to lunch or breakfast with somebody and they mark it as a counseling appointment.
Okay.
So with us, I have no problem being modest and giving credit where credit's due. I'll tell you, I got amazing mental health partners. We work with Healing Minds. They've got offices in Bossier and Shreveport. We work with Brentwood. They've got a great inpatient program. They're trying to develop an outpatient, and the majority of our guys are outpatient. And then we've got some friends over in Monroe called Finding Solace. And we're working on a 4th one right now because the demand signal has shown us that we need another partner. But what that works is I'm not an LPC. I don't have any credentialing. I don't have any license. I can't do yoga with you. I can't do EMDR. I can't do grief counseling. But I know who can, and all I got to do is have a credit card on file. So what we did is worked up a partnership with them. We went in there and found out what the self-pay rate. Insurance can get kind of tricky sometimes. With insurance too comes a lot of things, like you got to get a diagnosis for some insurance.
Yeah, you have to get a referral.
Yeah, you got to get a referral
and go through all the processes and jump the hoops, especially if you're a veteran too. Like it's a whole ordeal.
Yeah, and one of my volunteers, there's 4 of us on the team. My volunteer buddy Trent has said, he's like, man, sometimes you just don't want your boss to know what you got going on. Like, there's a stigma about career implications for going up and saying the wrong thing. So some of our people that have come out to us wouldn't have gone to their EAP, their insurance provider. They wouldn't have asked. So us having a completely anonymous, off the record, but licensed medical partner allows them to come in. All I get from it, I don't get into the HIPAA. I don't get into the details of what they talk about. All I need to do is verify they are who they say they are. I need to know when they started, and I need to know when the bill's due. And at the end of the day, we pay for 8 mental health sessions. Because we think that's a good amount of time to build a rapport with a counselor. And it's been a pretty good gateway drug. Most people will go and talk to a counselor and they realize, hey, this isn't that bad. Or there isn't this major stigma that I thought of. I'm not going to lose my badge. I'm not going to lose my flying status or my clearance or whatever. You know what? I think I want to continue on Barksdale. I want to continue on with my EAP. So we might get them started. There's some that have started with us 3 sessions in. They're on their insurance program. We're not paying for it anymore, but they're still in care. We've got some that came in, did 1 session under our dime, and then realized they wanted to do it, and all we pick up is the copay. Because at the end of the day, our partners have done us a good service. Self-pay options more expensive than the insurance, but they've done us a solid by giving us a discounted rate because we are referring a lot of people, and they believe in this mission of taking care of first responders. There's a significant bridge between the amount of stress that their occupation gives them versus the compensation they receive. So our partners are awesome with knowing, getting into the details, having some background themselves, and being able to work with all the issues that present themselves, and then those second order issues. Like we talked about first responders that have 2 jobs. At the end of the day, not every first responder, not every military person wants to go to counseling for PTSD. Yeah. Some of them just want to be a good freaking dad or mom, and they're stressed out. Like they're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And, the economy is the economy. $100 is the new 20. So it's like sometimes it's stressful. And a lot of times our counselors can talk to people through that and not just go in there and go, oh, you're a veteran, so loud noises frighten you on 4th of July. They can go through the process, and they also know, man, maybe we do need to talk about your alcohol consumption. Maybe it's a little high, right? Maybe there's some things that we need to do. And they look at those holistically, and they patiently go through that. That's why we pay for 8 sessions, because there's some programs in town that'll do 3 because of trauma. But after 3, you've barely scratched the itch. Yeah. And one of the things we were proud of, being a nonprofit and being flexible and being answerable to the public and being answerable to my board of directors with a common sense, and my butt's on the line as the executive director. If I make a decision and it's wrong, I expect to get chewed out and I expect to get called out, right? So I pay for 8 sessions. I've paid for 16, and it's not because I wanted to give special treatment to somebody, but it's because the counselor reached out and said, without getting into details, they said, man, Eric, I'll tell you, we're 6 sessions into these 8, and I just got her to unfold her arms.
Yeah, it's different for everyone. Yeah. But yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So but that's where not being an LPC, I have to trust the partners that I found. If my counselor, who's certified and can read the body language and can kind of explain, starts to say, we're about to make a breakthrough, but we're about to end these sessions, she would benefit for 8 more. Well, then we just re-sign up for 8 more sessions. I go to my team. My team is, I talked about them, I should outline them. So there's 4 of us. There's myself, my wife, Amber, Trent Doherty as the associate director, and Brian George as associate director. And I go to my team, and at that level, we make a decision. Do we re-up services? And we all vote, and we vote via group text message sometimes, because we all have full-time jobs. We're all busy. And if I get 2 thumbs up emojis, well, we voted, right? So we go on and make it happen. But I think that sometimes sounds informal, but sometimes I think that informality match with authenticity and some reality.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, the larger the nonprofit, the more board of directors, the more if you can streamline those decisions, especially if they're important, I feel like that's the way to do it,
Yeah, and I mean, it's the blessing in disguise, right? So I have no grant money. So I don't answer to anybody.
Yes.
At the yet. Yeah. So right now, if and when, good example, this we are 1 year and barely a month old. I am not a good businessman. I am working at a $3,000 a month deficit right now because there's a demand signal for mental health that's outside the insurance program. There's a demand signal where. God bless them. That's what we say in the South, right? When you're mad at somebody and they make a mistake, you shouldn't call a clinic and get triaged and get told you're not suicidal enough to be seen for a month.
Yeah.
So when our first responders get that kind of customer service, they're looking for somebody that'll listen, and we make sure we're somebody that always listens. So we respond and we're quick. We tend to be informal. We tend to be a little more relaxed. But I think people realize that we're being real and we're being authentic, and they can trust us. And then that word of mouth starts to happen. So yeah, we're a year old. Expected the first year to get the brand out there, explain that first responder support team is pronounced first. It's a mouthful. Build a brand. Hopefully, see that we can help a couple of people, right? We can get our name out, maybe do a few things. And that did not happen at all. We hit the ground running. We can bore you with stats all day long, but let's just say we spent a ton of money last year. Hundreds of financial support requests came in. My wife is our care coordinator. She coordinates with all of our counselors, does all the back end, kind of the administrative tracking through completion, making sure someone got paid, making sure payment was submitted on time, make sure, feedback sessions happened, that we're doing our job right. But she did that for about 400 mental health sessions last year. This year in January, again, it's a small sample size because we keep track of each year, January to January. But in January, the first 2 weeks of this month, we had a mental health request every 2.5 days.
That's insane.
So,
and how are these people finding you?
I don't know. Yeah. So
they're having to look. So these people it's not like you're not spending all this money on all these campaigns and stuff.
Yeah, no.
So these people are having to find you.
Right. Yeah. So we do have a social media. We don't have billboards. We don't have. I had a digital billboard donated to us. Fantastic guy over there, and he was able to do that for us for free. So I think that gets us out there. We do have social media. We have a website. Our partners. They will often help triage for us. So a good example, Healing Minds, Aaron will go through and they offer a 1 free session, kind of feel it out, see if this is for you. And a lot of times she'll get somebody, good examples, like she had a nurse recently and working in an emergency room talking about some of the work-related stress and said, hey, yeah, I think this would be good for me, but I don't want it on my insurance. It's a little cost prohibitive. I don't know if I can afford this. And then she reminds him, hey, I've got this partner. And if you'd be willing to give this a shot, that first is going to cover the first 8 sessions. Yeah. So some of our referrals will come from the clinic themselves. Some will just find us. But recently we've seen a lot of, we talked offline a little bit about like barbecue customers, right? Yeah. One barbecue guy tells a barbecue guy, and now you're known by all the barbecue guys. So one nurse tells another nurse, one cop tells another cop. We've got some great partners over at Shreveport and Bossier PD, and they have a wellness program. And that wellness program, they vetted us out. They felt us out for a few months, and they're slow to trust. They didn't want to jump right in and be like, oh, you're a nonprofit that wants to help veterans and first responders? Sounds great. Here, take all my money. Because people have been burned. So they felt us out to see if we were what we said we were. And now they are helping to kind of bring people our direction too and build the understanding of what we do. You'll see that I navigate very carefully around raising awareness. I think that's a cuss word. Raising awareness doesn't.
What do you mean? Like, elaborate on that just so everyone can understand.
Yeah, so that's why I stumble on it. I don't do push-ups for suicide. I don't raise awareness. There's a million people that can raise awareness. Awareness is raised, right? My first responder community is 8 times more likely to kill themselves.
Yeah, the numbers are there. There's no arguing that. So wearing a ribbon or doing push-ups is not what we do. We even have done a social media campaign before where, it's action over awareness. Like we think that you have to act. Enough people are aware there's a problem, so you have to actually do what you say you're going to do, and you have to find a way to make programs together to help first responders. And that's one of the things we did with the mental health is to make sure, get some licensed providers, make them flexible. Make sure that when we go to them, we say, I have to be able to afford it. You have to offer telehealth. You have to be able to meet somebody. There's a buzzword that says meet them where they are. That means if someone wants to come in and they want to cuss and pitch a fit and break something, man, you got to understand that. Like you can't just pray it away, right? You can't just tell them, oh, well, yeah, you probably drink too many Monster drinks, so, cut your caffeine and you'll be a healthier person. It's like, you got to come back to reality and realize what our clientele are going through. And then you work with them to a healthy care plan. That's what wellness is about. It's not wagging a finger at somebody because they have some bad habits that have been instilled in 25 years in the military. So
it's not a one-size-fits-all approach either.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have that initiative. And look, I mean, it may just be that was built in from the start and they kind of just ran with it, but I get that, you know.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it earlier. When you're a major program or a massive got a massive budget or you got a massive clientele, you have to come up with something that is...
You have to have some type of system.
Yeah, sort of vanilla spread, you know, across the board. But at the end of the day, man, if you took a cookie cutter, I did this visual for somebody one time. If you took like a cookie cutter and you put it down on a gingerbread man and you wiggle it, you're going to have a perfect gingerbread man. If you move over to the next one and you slap it down, you're probably going to have a perfect gingerbread. Now here's the problem. Take all those same gingerbread men that you just created and slap the same cookie cutter down on them and tell me you didn't just lop off a leg or lop off an arm. Or you're not going to fit in the same place every time. It's not repeatable. It's not... You can't do that on scale. You have to be careful about being deliberate. That means you have to have conversations. I had a conversation the whole way here. Full disclosure, I text and drive because I am trying to make a use of my time. And on the way here, I got a text message with a first responder, and we're working above our normal financial crisis support. We're trying to help where we can. I have to go to get my board's approval when I go above my normal amount, and we've already 4x'd our normal financial response. Well, she has other needs, and I understand that, and I sympathize with that, but I'm a small nonprofit with a small budget, so how do I navigate that with her or with a cookie cutter approach? The easy way is just to slap down an answer that says, no, I'm sorry, I can't support that. But instead, I take a little bit extra time to say, hey, well, I want to be able to help. I can't do that, but I can refer you to this other partner.
Yeah.
I can refer you to these other programs that you may not have known about. And that's taking that extra step. That's what I call customer service. That's what I call just simple common sense. Treat people the way they want to be treated. At the end of the day, nobody wants to be cattle, but that's how we were treated in the military sometimes. Nobody wants to be one of a million numbers, but that's what you are at scale. But in our program, we're too small right now to treat people in scale. Right now, you're a real human, and we want to treat you like a real human. You just happen to wear a different uniform and do a really weird job. I say it all the time. Our family, our clientele, whatever you want to call them, they make the abnormal normal. The things that our first responders go through and deal with would blow the average person's mind. And I say that from a guy with 25 years in the military. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't see nearly as much combat and trauma as a Shreveport cop.
Yeah.
That is all there's. I know firefighters that have been shot at more times than me.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like I can't go get in a room with certain combat vets and bro it up with them because I've never seen an IED. I've never been shot at in combat. Yeah, I've had some mortars lobbed at my base and I've had to take cover a couple of times. But at the end of the day, it's like a grenade thrown over a fence. I'm not too stressed out. But the things that our guys go through. The story comes to mind that I had I was listening to another podcast one time over on base and had this military couple and they were just praising the Air Force. And I love the Air Force. It saved my life, gave me something, and I'm not picking on them. But they were so enamored by all of the ways that the Air Force bent over backwards to help their young family. Their young officer family got a baby, and 1-year-old, and they're both in the military, and they were talking about how great the Air Force was because what was going to happen was she was going to deploy January through June, and then the Air Force was so gracious that he wasn't going to deploy until June, and then he would be back in December. That way, their kid could have one parent the whole year, and they didn't have to send the kid off to grandma to be raised for a year. And the person doing the interview was like, yeah, that's just great how the Air Force, puts family first and family care plan comes into play. And you're just listening to it and going, wait, that kid's going to go without one of their parents for an entire calendar year. That kid has to look up and not see where his dad is for 6 months or the mom is for 6 months.
And hope you don't get blown up or something.
Yeah. But they were just they had been, not indoctrinated, but they had drank the Kool-Aid that oh man, this is helping me out so much. So at the end of the day,
you might get a little bit more leeway with somebody like that who doesn't realize like that's not really normal. Like I joke with people, everybody talks about embrace the suck, right? When you're in the military, like, oh, embrace the suck. We're out here in the rain and it sucks and it's cold and, you know, getting shot at and all this, and me and my buddies. And it's like, at the end of the day, like normal people call that like trauma bonding.
Yeah.
But in the military, it's just like, oh no, that's just my bros and we went on this deployment together. It's just so weird. And there's not, I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it becomes second nature. But some of the things that become second nature, like anxiety and depression and overwhelmingness and thinking it's okay to make as little money as you do, and have career guys in the military losing their mind on young people when they want to get out and create a life for themselves. And they're like, how dare you get out and become a contractor and make 3 times the amount of money? Man, that's his call. Like if you did what you said you were going to do, you got to honor that. You got to respect somebody for coming in and doing 4 years of their life, making $27,000 a year. Like, dude, let that guy go make his money. Let that girl go do her thing, and, you know, thank them for what they did. And that's what thank you for your service really means. It doesn't mean, oh, thank you for your continued service and your continued sacrifice.
Thank you for your entire lifetime.
Yeah, for changing everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one of the that's why we're so passionate about what we're doing, is because I am not a cop. I am not a firefighter. I was in the military and I am a veteran, and I do know what some of those things, I know what it's like to make sacrifice so often that you see the effects later when your body hurts, your brain hurts, everything is going in a different direction. You're stressed out. You're frustrated with things that shouldn't frustrate the average person. So when they need care, it's hard to get them to ask in the general. But when they do ask, to then give them a map of like, oh, follow these 77 contracts of how I'm going to help you, and I'll call you back in a month and a half. It's just unsatisfactory. So we had to do something real, authentic, quick. We had to promise, and we have to follow up on our promises, and that's the way we run first.
Well, so we talked about the mental health thing, and the second tier was it financial?
Yep.
So financial crisis. So what does that look like?
So I grew up real poor.
Same.
Yeah, grew up in a trailer park.
Same.
And, so I joke about it, like I don't have PTSD from combat, but if a
our normal was different than other people's normal.
But if a check engine light comes on in my vehicle, bro, like I know growing up, a check engine light on my vehicle meant something is going to break, and I'm not going to be able to stop it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be on the side of the road, and I'm going to be abandoned, and I'm going to feel like I can't recover. So when the check engine light comes on in life for people, when like, to me, financial crisis is just a precursor to stress and anxiety and mental health problems. So when you are a cop who gets paid, you've been a cop for 15 years. You're making the same amount of money as a rookie does in Tyler, Texas.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep you in this community, and we want you to be here. And if you can survive for 30 years, you have a good retirement plan.
Yeah.
You have a great retirement plan. They're going to give you 100% of your salary for the rest of your life.
But isn't that funny how that's always what everyone look, and no dig, my wife she's just finished her police career, but like no dig on that, but like isn't that always the thing that there's always the reason behind it is like, well, I just can't beat the benefits. I'm like, dude, like, but you have to beat life to get the benefits, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and ultimately I my brain's wired a little differently. I kind of took it as an insult when people would tell me, but it's so stable. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah,
you mean there's job security?
There's job security and there's benefits and there's all these things. But what they were telling me was like, hey, you don't have other options. And I grew up in a place with no options. I either got on a boat pushing a barge, or I joined the military, or I started selling crack. Like that was like, I guess I could become a meth head like most of the people I grew up with in Southeast Missouri. But like you had very limited chances to be successful. So somebody in the military or in the uniformed services, a lot of times they'll be like, hey, there's no other option for you. And that you're in my mind, you're insulting their ability to go be creative, go create a business, go be successful, go back to school, change their life, change their career, earn more money. And I think there's enough examples out there right now that you can do really well financially, and financially might free you up to do other things. So at the end of the day, we created the financial support from my experience before, that life happens sometimes and things out of the ordinary. Check engine light comes on, the alternator goes bad, a house fire happens, you need a repair that means you get in a hotel room for an extended period of time. All these type of things come up, and in my mind, the two compounding issues were our first responders don't get paid enough money to just have disposable income,
right?
To just have thousands of dollars sitting in the bank to go, oh, this sucks, but
my hot water heater went out at the house. That's $1,200, whatever. Yeah.
Yep. That's the one we're working on right now. I thought it was a water heater. It was actually the heat. It was the furnace. And here we are in Louisiana, and it's like 30 degrees, 20 degrees overnight. And she's working her tail off, and most, it's not just dig on first responders. Most Americans cannot survive a $400 emergency. Like, I think it's like 70% or something.
Hey, Josh, can you pull that stat up for me? I want to know that, dude. I'm big on, like, I want to get these numbers right.
Yeah.
It's going to be like what's the average? What was
it? So what I heard was that the average American cannot handle a $400 emergency. Basically,
what's the
average savings in a
percentage of the what's the percentage of the average American that can't afford that?
Yeah.
$400 emergency or something similar.
So what we created was a simple way for someone to ask for help. Go on our website, they click a support request, and it gives us a nomination that they've got something going on. We verify who they are, and it's as easy as give me your account number to your electric bill.
37%.
Yeah. So give me your account number to that bill. Give me your at worst case scenario, give me your Venmo or your Cash App, and I'm gonna send you money. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that you're taken care of. Sometimes that can get crazy, right? So last year we did 117 of those. People reached out. Some of those were from the member themselves. Sometimes it was a leader who would reach out to us and say, hey, I've got somebody who's in a case. They're not going to ask for help, but they really could use some support here. One of them I got, again, we don't use any names, but I got a deploying soldier who is in a deployment line, and the Army works differently than the Air Force does. The Army was pull out your car insurance, pull out your cell phone, pull out your thing. I want to make sure everything works before you get on this plane, because I do not want to get you downrange and have to find out that you didn't pay a bill.
Yeah.
So this young man finally got called out and was like, I'm behind on my cell phone bill. Well, how far are you behind on your cell phone? You can have your cell phone go out. You're about to be gone for 5 months. And he's like, I'm $188 behind. So we got the call from the supervisor, like, I can't put him on this plane. Like, he cannot deploy with this, or he's going to get there and it's just going to be miserable for him. First sergeant's going to eat him up. Can you guys help? It's like, yeah, I just need the cell phone number. And I went over to the kiosk, debit card swipe, sent a screenshot, said, hey, let him on the plane. Not saying that's a big deal, but that shows.
But it is, because, you have to think, that being a regular outlet for someone now, 20 years ago, there wasn't a discussion. It was something else, right? But that right now, that discussion is, well, that's an outlet for that person under stress, and if that's the only outlet they have, you're taking it from them.
Right. Yeah. And for me, I think those are, like, a lot of times it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's something that just builds up. And you're like, man, this thing is setting me behind. Or, a vehicle is a tool. If you can't get to work, man, it's just compounding problems.
Yeah. If you have a constant, you're already going to a stress-driven job, but if you're creating the stress, and you got to get out of bed before you get in that vehicle. Oh, I don't know if this is going to break down on the way there.
Right. And and you're also they're also trained to not ask for help. They're trained to be the helpers. So we keep it anonymous. We don't get into the names of who asked for help. It's a one-time grant. At the end of the day, again, I answer to a board of directors because I can be loosey-goosey. When we talk about mental health, I do a verification of who they say they are. That's literally a couple of leading questions. If you lie to me about mental health, you know what you need? You need mental health. Yeah. So if someone reaches out to us on web and they say, hey, I need to talk to somebody, and I'm a firefighter, there's like drop-down menu, and I will answer. I will text back within an hour. I text back and say, hey, what station do you work at? And if they say Shreveport number 9, approved. If they lied to me, you got me. And I got to go talk to my boss about that, get my butt chewed. We kind of look at the financial crisis the same way. It's not a huge stipend. We offer a grant. We don't offer loans. We give money one time to solve one problem. And if you get me, then you got me for the normal amount. That normal amount last year at average was $217 for response. We usually try to say about $250. Anything more than that, I got to ask for permission. But if you get me, man, all right, you got me for $250. You just won't get me again. Because, again, my team goes through the requests. If we get multiple requests, and we did, and that's a tough part, is empathizing with people's problem. And I got some people who are in struggle. We've sent care as far south as Hammond, Louisiana. We had a veteran down there, and a question came in for financial support. We found out who he was, got a copy of the paperwork to prove he was a veteran, sent the money. 2 weeks later on the 15th, hey, I need $250 for the next problem. Hey, I'd like to help you, but, we're limited. We have limited sources. We can't really give you double money. That would not enable us to help the next person. First of the next month, hey, I need $250 again. Change the tone a little bit from, hey, I wish I could help, to, hey, I can't help, to after the fourth time when he requested, it was like, hey, let's make this clear. There is no more money. I want you to go to the resources that I've given you, because we refer people all the time. The United Way is awesome. There's a ton of great programs that are doing what they say. So we refer them to. And we did respond to that. Again, he had a very specific need for an infant. We bought some diapers and wipes online, had them shipped to his house. That was one of the very few people we've helped twice. But at the end of the day, it was a low budget. It was a need, and we made sure that we responded with some compassion, but also with some understanding that this is not your new way of life. I was nervous about it, and I'll talk about this partnership if I could. We got a couple of requests in there that were just weird. One, I got like a request from somebody. She said, "Hey, this is my friend. She's a nurse. Please donate to their GoFundMe. They're having some trouble." I was like, okay, absolutely. I want to help that for sure. Let's look at it. So I go to the GoFundMe, and I'm looking at the GoFundMe, and it's a problem, and I want to be able to help. They had raised $195,000 on the GoFundMe.
Yeah, it's a different conversation.
And I was like, I have limited resources. I could give this person $10 or $10,000. They're not going to notice.
Yeah.
So I want to be an honest person, because I had told this person that I was going to help them. And I reached out, and we kind of had a conversation. I'm like, hey, this is what I can budget for that. And it was not $250, because I needed that money for somebody who was not going to ask for help and didn't have a $190,000 check coming. So we were able to help that, what I thought was appropriately, but it got me really thinking more along the ways of, like, we had requests that would come in, and we tell people, like, a financial crisis, that's the support that we give out. Things that you would create a GoFundMe for. Hey, car broke down, house burned down, having some trouble, lost my job, don't know how I'm going to get to next payday. That's where you're going to get our grant really easy. You're going to hit the button, we're going to get it to you right away. Then we would get these requests that would come in, and it was like, hey, I am behind on my rent and my utilities and my water. I don't have money for groceries. My car payment is 2 months overdue. My rims are overdue. I just got a speeding ticket. And I mean, you're like tens and $12,000 this month upside down. And I talked to my team, and I was like, hey, I don't want to not help.
Yeah.
But my $250 is not going to be a drop in the bucket to help this person. And let's be honest and call a spade a spade. Let's say I wrote a check for $12,000, which I can't do and wouldn't do. But let's say I wrote the $12,000 check and got this person completely out of debt in October. You know what's going to happen in November?
Same conversation.
Conversation. We didn't help them at all.
No.
So we worked with this. Again, we don't mind giving credit where credit's due. The Catholic Charities of North Louisiana have a program called Money School. They have grant money that will help people with utilities and rent. All they require is you come sit down into a 1 hour long financial literacy class. And then following that 1 hour group session, you get one-on-one counseling with one of their budget analysts. And they go into the details of, why do you have a $600 a month rim payment? Sell those rims and put your stock rims back on your car.
Yeah.
You are broke. Yeah. You don't have that kind of money. Why do you have Netflix and Hulu and Pandora and Disney Plus? And dude, you have 2 jobs. You are not watching that much TV. Cancel these. Save the money. So what we did is we started vetting our needs. When somebody had a crisis, it's a crisis. Let's help. Then when some people just couldn't life, and just things happen, we were like, this person's a candidate for this program. So we would send them the $250 because we want to make sure the babies can eat, right? You got to give them the grocery money. And then we would make sure that we responded with like, hey, you might be a good candidate for this other program. And in fact, I'd encourage you to go to this. If you go, not only are you going to receive that counseling, that literacy that you need, you're not only going to get our $250, you're going to have access to their $300 of grant money. And I will reward you for going to this by giving you an additional $250. Because at the end of it, you get about $1,000 between these agencies, and you know what to do with it now. So at the end of the day, that kind of came on us last year that I felt like I was just giving away fish and not teaching anyone to fish. And I've got a full-time job. Trent, Brian, and Amber got full-time jobs. We're all working. We're all busy. So I just didn't have the time to create and build a financial literacy class, but there was an appetite for it. So we started referring people there, and I got a message yesterday from somebody who had just finished. We had just referred him, and we're going to send him a second stipend to thank him for going and knowing that he can put it to work now. And we've probably referred about 9 or 10 people in the last couple of months. Because again, we don't want to just like help somebody one time and call and done. We want to make sure this is like long lasting and they get something that will benefit them beyond.
Yeah.
So
no, I think it's important too. I think the financial literacy thing is extremely important because growing up very disadvantaged like you did, like we didn't have that. No one taught me that. No. And I lived most of my adulthood life making a lot of mistakes and learning from them. And it wasn't no fault of anyone but my own, but also because no one taught me that, you know. And I think really everyone needs to be learning those things in every single outlet from armed forces to anything from grade school. Those are things that you just didn't learn,
I agree 100%.
And you have one more tier. What was the other one?
Yeah, so mental health, financial crisis, and the third one is the trusted referral assistance. Okay. That's where there's 45,000 veteran servicing nonprofits in America. There are 2,800 nonprofits in Shreveport, Bossier City.
Holy shit, I did not know that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can find that stat, but I'll tell you, my limited experience, not with all 2,800, but with tons of them, a lot of them exist because they have a desire to help and they have no design to implement their plan. They want to help. Buddy of mine said that one time. He was a coach. He's like, man, it is not the desire to win the football game that will win the football game. I can get you hype in a locker room. Yeah. I can get you ready to run through the wall. I can give you a speech. I can get you just ready to eat nails. And then you are going to sprint through the tunnel and get on that field, and you're going to get your ass handed to you because you are not ready to deal with what's about to happen. Yep. And so it takes more than desire. So there's a ton of nonprofits that I think a lot of them mean well. There are some nefarious ones, and there's some nefarious ones in this town. We joke about the Wounded Warrior Project. Everybody always talks about the Wounded Warrior Project because their CEOs got busted for taking like $600,000 salaries. Absolutely astronomical. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. However, when you compare the CEOs of Wounded Warrior Project, who take $600,000 to run a multi-$100 million agency that is doing a ton of good for people, compare that with what you have locally, where you've got local nonprofit leaders that take 45% of every dollar donated. Yeah. And some of it's salary.
That's pennies compared to that.
Yeah, that's pennies compared to percentage-wise. I mean, you got people taking salaries on top of a housing stipend, on top of a vehicle stipend. And at the end of the day, you got 10 cents going to the actual mission. So we have a trusted referral network. Won't call them all out here, but I'll tell you, like the L Foundation. People don't know about the L Foundation. There are a ton of veteran homelessness programs in this area. The L Foundation's the one that does it. They will take somebody for 18 months and put them through the ringer and teach them to change their life and get them to wean themselves off of the system. They will help, and they will get them self-sustaining with pride and some integrity through the process. So at the end of the day, 18 months from now, they are standing on their own 2 feet, doing the thing. Their United Way has been an amazing partner. I don't play a lick of music, but Guitars for Vets has saved people's life. And at the end of the day, I can't put you on a horse and give you equestrian therapy.
Yeah.
But I'll refer people to Warrior Horse over in Frierson all day long because they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And if there's costs associated with it, I'm going to help. If Combat Vets Association, Motorcycle Association has a need, I'm going to contribute to it from our nonprofit because they've been there for us and they mean what they say they're going to do. So I will stand behind the ones that stand behind their mission. What I don't do is I don't just jump on the bandwagon, drinking the Kool-Aid of the newest thing with a fancy website or an app or a thing. You gotta practice what you preach. And the proof's in the pudding. People know when you're being authentic. They know when you're not. So those are the three things. We don't keep track of referral assistance anymore. I tried last year, again, full-time job. By February, I was around 1,000 phone calls and text messages to partner agencies. I was scouring. There's one in Monroe I give a shout out for called Delta Veterans. You go to deltavets.org. I was on their website every single day because they had a referral network of people. You need a service dog? Let me help you. Here's where I'm going to go. You need help with this? Here's where I would go. So I was using their resources on a regular. So I got to the point where I couldn't even keep track. So we tracked our mental health, we tracked our support agencies and our support requests, and then our referrals. It just became the average that we know we're going to refer 3 or 4 times per request that comes into us. But I think that's important. I think at the end of the day, that gives a little bit of endorsement. It proves to somebody like, hey, I can vouch for this person. This person has helped me, has helped my friends. You can trust them because a lot of times they're not going to ask for help. And if they do, man, you do not want to throw them into, go to Google and look for that. You know what I mean? Because then they're not feeling like they're being taken advantage of or taken care of.
Yeah. Well, how do people? That's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And only being a year in too. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money do you think you've raised in the past year for this support?
Yeah. So I'm an analyst by trade, right? So numbers and metrics matter. We raised $96,000 last year.
In your first year. Super
excited about raising $96,000. We also spent $74,000 in the first year. We had some great partners that came on board that helped us with start money. I'll tell you, Johnny's Pizza wrote us a $5,000 check, and we wouldn't have been able to function. We would not have been able to function the first 2 months because we thought, hey, I need to get a website and I need to probably buy some sort of management system and get a way for people to donate online. I did not realize that we were going to have people in care within a month.
Yeah.
So they helped us. We had a foundation help us kind of get us started. So we were able to raise some money. But now you're seeing the other side of it. People know who you are. This was before people knew who we were. We helped 400 mental health sessions and 100 and something support requests and thousands of refers. Now people know who we are, and now they tell everybody. So in January, we're on right now, and I projected it just from January, and I hope it slows down. I actually don't hope it slows down. I hope money is found. I hope that something comes along to help the mission because I don't want people to not ask. But based off of January of 2025, we're going to spend $90,000 on mental health. That's a lot. That's a lot to figure out how to fundraise. That's more than our entire budget was last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go into those things like unknown costs, right? Like I know my operating costs right now for my staff. I'll tell you what my staff makes: nothing.
Yeah.
Not $1 going to one person. But I pay rent, and I got to pay for a management software, and I had to buy business cards. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, when you got to buy business cards, and you're like $400 for business cards because you hand it out.
Yeah, you're getting them for everyone.
Yeah, you handed out 2,000 business cards. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, well, that's an operating cost. Our website is a good example of what we try to do with our donation dollars. Our website is frst.care. The reason it's .care is because I bootstrapped this nonprofit with firewood money from my side hustle because I didn't have any cash. So I went to frst.org and it was $2,400. .care was $8.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, done.
There you go.
I know which one I'm going to get, right? Because I'm broke as a joke. So we bootstrapped this thing a year ago trying to get it started. And now it's become a real boy or girl, and it's helping people. And now we're like, okay, how do we sustain it? How do we get to where we're and we'll file our taxes this year. Again, we're a baby, so hopefully we file our taxes and we can take a 990 to some of these grant agencies and do well this year with fundraising. We'll be in Give for Good. We met the campaign deadline where we missed a couple of them last year. So this year we're in existence, and we have our 501c3. We have all our paperwork. We're legit. What we just need to do is not just have a mission and find our way, like a lot of these nonprofits that are fundraising for something. You couldn't tell you what it is. Again, they're focusing on the awareness, not the action side of things. We know what we do. We provide mental health, we provide financial support, and we refer people to people that'll trust, and we're there if you need us. Now, how do we fund it? How do we make this sustainable? How do we do the right things? Do we do an event? We did a golf tournament, and we raised a lot of money on the golf tournament. We also spent a lot of money on the golf tournament because we wanted to make sure our first responders felt loved and they knew it was free and they were taken care of. So instead of charging them, we just got a lot of sponsors to pay for golf tournament stuff. Gets a chance for them to market to the first responder community that, hey, I care enough about you to pay for you to play for free, eat and drink for free. So we were able to do a couple of events, and we'll do those again this year, because without those and without a couple of cool key corporate sponsors, man, we would be upside down. But I guess that's the fun part, is trying to figure out how to bootstrap this thing and keep doing good, so that way that the numbers and the metrics work their way out to people, and they can say, oh, you don't just talk a game, you walk it, and you're doing the thing. How do I support that?
Yeah. Well, so what's the contributions? Do you have like you have a couple options, like how can people contribute?
Yeah, so I've got one donation that comes in monthly for $5 a month. Man, love it.
So you take anything?
Yeah, we'll take anything. So when you go to our website, it's frst.care/give. When you bring up that form, it's going to give you some options. I set it up individually. We'd love to get $25 a month from a person. From a small business, we'd love to get $75 a month. And from a corporate person, we'd love to get $250 a month. That allows us to budget. Numbers wise, every mental health cost, $680 per person. That's for 8 sessions. For our financial crisis support, that's usually $250. Sometimes it's more. We started this new partnership with Caddo Parish Animal Shelter, and we are matching veterans that are on the last legs to dogs that are absolutely on their last legs in the euthanasia list. And some of these dogs are amazing service dog candidates, and we were able to match a veteran who was probably not going to make it through a week with a dog who absolutely was not going to make it through a week. And the state of Louisiana has some crazy rules regarding service animals. And you can put a vest on a dog, and as a veteran, you are that dog's trainer. No questions asked. Get on a plane, do your thing. Basic obedience training is needed, and that's where we come in. We pay for that. That does have a cost, but at the end of the day, I think we're saving 2 lives, a dog and a veteran. So we made sure that we were able to do that. But so that's an example of where our financial support was a little more than $250.
Right.
Got to go to my board, and I got to get approval for that.
You're saving 2 lives there, though.
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, the second dog we did was Shreveport PD, and when Lieutenant Amy Bowman takes her emotional support dog to work, that dog is not just taking care of her; it's taking care of other officers in the precinct. So we think that's making a big impact on the police department. So that was an investment to us to make sure that we were taken care of.
Awesome. Well, dude, I that's a lot of info.
Yeah.
But I'm glad. I mean, you laid it all out there, and I was kind of curious to kind of the ins and outs, because I mean, until you sit down with someone and actually discuss these things, it's hard to say, well, hey, this is our nonprofit, this is what we do. But like you said, there's so many out there, and if you don't get the entirety of the mission, then it's kind of hard to know where your money's going.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I mean? And also, too, this community and how we know what's going on, not here, but everywhere, across the states, and what these people are going through on a day-to-day basis, what they have to live through, what they have to bring home, and also what they have to carry with them every day, So I think it's important. wrapping up, man, how do we find you, social media and all that stuff?
So I tell everybody to go to our website. The website I like to give out because it is a link, but it'll take you to our main one. Go to www.frst.care, but go ahead and put /recap on there, because that's going to give you our report that we put out every single month on the things we're doing, because I think it's important to be transparent. You got to follow us on social media, because the snapshot from recap is only a portion. We're doing a lot more, and we put it all on Facebook and Instagram. But go there, you'll find us. You can see our link tree. All the sites, all the information is there on the website, frst.care, and you can see what we're doing.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, bro. I appreciate it.
Thank you, DJ. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right.